country that's divided surely will not stand. My past erased, no more disgrace, no foolish, naive stand. The end is near, it's crystal clear, part of the master plan. Don't look now to Israel, it might be your homeland. Holy wars. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from down deep in the bowels of our underground lair. We're coming at you live because we're standing for something even when we got these...
I don't stand for anything. That's just the thing about
me. Really?
You're principled and I'm not. I'm a total sellout.
Oh, boy.
You know, but... yeah, we are standing tall, AOC and company notwithstanding. Jay, why does that song sound familiar?
Well, it might. It was a single. It was.
You did a Rolling
video
Stones reference a little off the air here. It's not them, is it?
No,
right.
Definitely not.
It sounds harder than that.
Yes.
It sounds harder than that, you know. Let me think here. What's a good heavy metal band? Axl Rose? Is it Axl Rose?
That is a good heavy metal band. That's not the one I'm looking for.
Oh, okay. It's, let's see. It's like the Mega Maniacs or something. The Crash Test Dummies or the... Jay, I can't even fathom a smart guess. Enlighten us. What was the song? The Holy War?
Holy Wars, The Punishment Due from Megadeth.
Megadeth, okay.
Well, last time we had the Megadeth featured, we talked about how they're kind of a political band. This is definitely one of those songs.
We've featured them a few times.
Yeah, I was looking through. Like, they're not a band I always listen to, but they are a band that happens to pop into our songs from the podcast playlist over at Spotify a whole lot more than a lot of other bands. It's kind of strange.
Well, I mean, you know, you've said it before, and I'll say it again here, that there was a time where musicians and music stood for something very different than it does now.
Right.
So, you know, and personally, it's weird because I always appreciate musical talent, largely because I have zero.
Yeah.
I can't play an instrument. I can't sing. I can't write music. Can't read it. No, absolutely nothing. And even the political bands that I, don't agree with and don't like, don't want to listen to, a lot of them are dang good musicians.
Yeah.
It's kind of like actors who I just, Tim Robbins happens to be in some of my favorite movies. I think he's a great actor.
He's a great actor.
But you type Shawshank Redemption or Bull Durham's on, I don't change the channel. So,
yeah.
Do you find yourself as a fan being able to separate the musician or the actor from being an actor? Because there's some actors
usually,
I can't do that on.
Right, there's some.
There's a handful, not many, but some I can't.
Yeah.
And most I can.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, can you do that for the most part?
For the most part, I can, sure.
You can listen to Crosby, Stills, Nash, and you're okay?
Some songs, yeah. Actually, Southern Cross. And,
they got great talent. I'm not saying they're not talented. They certainly are. But I just, I try so hard not to. Cross over the two. But, it gets tough sometimes.
Yeah.
I think, anyway. Let me just, Anyhow. And then it's weird. Some of the ones have become my favorites. Like Travis Tritt. I always liked him.
Yeah.
As a country fan.
Uh-huh.
Now I love him.
Yeah.
He's great. He's just but he's not overtly political, but he is, if that makes any sense. I mean, he isn't, but he is. He doesn't try to be like. I'll give you a good example, and I'm just going to use Travis as an example, that there was a concert he was playing a few years ago where the concert venue decided to demand that you had a COVID vaccine or you couldn't attend.
Yeah.
And it was unbeknownst to him. He was told about it by his agent or his manager or whatever, tour manager or whatever. So he got on the horn and said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to make this about that. They refused. He canceled the show.
Wow.
And I mean, you could, and he took some flack for it.
Yeah.
But it was, like, look, I didn't try to be political here.
Right.
The issue was thrown on me, and I said, my fans pay the money. They can come and enjoy the show. If they want to wear a mask, they can. If they want to sit in the corner, they can. But I'm not forcing anybody who wants to come and see me. You got to remember, people hadn't been to concerts for like a year and a half at this point.
Right.
So it was kind of... So sometimes people become unnecessarily... But, here's the thing, too. We talked about Kanye West one time on the show and how he was advised not to be political because he liked President Trump.
Right.
And it was like, I just remember, I'll never forget what he said to Tucker Carlson. He said, my record label will let me sing songs about killing cops, but they won't say that I can like a policy of the President of the United States.
Right.
I mean, what in the world has it come to?
Yeah.
So just...
Well, I mean... A lot of times they say the culture drive is driven by art,
I think it's a good argument to be made by that.
I think so too.
Civil rights movement, I think for sure.
As pop music has become more disgusting and music videos have become more disgusting, culture has reflected that and become really more base, more disgusting, more anything goes in public. It's
it's weird. On the one hand, anything goes. On the other hand, you can't say anything.
Yeah, right.
Anything goes on a music video, but a certain opinion, you can't have it.
Right. Well,
certain statue, we have to tear down. School, we have to rename.
Of course.
But if you want to call a bunch of women a word that rhymes with itch, that's all right. We'll put that out there anytime.
Right. Well, what can we do except just, I think, continue to put out the opposite of that and hope that we create with such quality that people will notice it. I mean, is it an uphill battle?
Think it'll ever swing back? I mean,
I think it has to. I do.
Huh. Yeah, well, maybe.
I think it has to at some point.
We'll see. I don't know. I've been waiting for that my entire adult life. And it hasn't happened, so.
Well, I mean, there is that too.
Who's going to lead it? I mean, does it come from faith-based? Does it come from, just good, honest, decent people? Does it come? I mean,
all of the above.
Does it come from, reject? Because I mean, I remember when gangster rap got really awful.
Yeah.
Not the beginnings of hip hop. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking when it went from hip hop to what it went to. I thought that was a defining point. That okay, we've gone here. We can't go any further.
Right.
And we certainly have. So it's kind of like I say about the public schools. What has to happen before, the whole system's just overthrown?
Yeah. And this really maybe is a whole podcast in and of itself to explain this well.
10 podcasts.
But there's a number of people who say that there's like 7 areas of culture that drive it, that areas of influence within the culture. You've got religion, you've got family, you've got education, government, media, arts and entertainment, and business. And when those things are being controlled by people that are not good people, you're garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah.
And when you have people controlling that, whose goal is to tear down the United States, to tear down Christianity, to tear down just whatever's wholesome and good, then that's what you're going to get, and culture is going to reflect that. But if you can begin to create good content that people watch and listen to, getting people that are like a lot of people, I know that they're Christian shows, but like watch The Chosen, which is super popular. There was a movie called Jesus Revolution that came out over this past year. There was another one, Sound of Freedom, that came out. So there are family-friendly films that are coming out and doing very well at the box office. Now, are people seeing those that aren't, looking for that? I don't know.
Well, unfortunately, what Hollywood likes to reward is the most political or the most outrageous thing.
Right.
That seems to be what gets the most.
Yeah, that's true. You
got a gay character. It's gonna get a nominee for something, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Jay, hold on a second. Now, I hate to shift gears here, but I want to say something. So, House Speaker Mike Johnson. Who the hell's Mike Johnson?
Yeah, I don't know. I kept thinking of the scene from The Jerk where Steve Martin has.
Boy, I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
It's like, Mike Johnson, you random son of a gun, and he's
love Steve Martin. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. The whole 3-week saga. So what's going to happen now, Jay? Is Mike Johnson going to muster the votes to do anything different here, or what?
Well,
who is he? I don't know who the hell he is.
He's from Louisiana.
Louisiana, yeah.
He's a rep for Louisiana. So
Raging Cajun.
Theoretically, he should be pretty conservative, but we know that in these conservative states that oftentimes rhinos get in because nobody's paying attention. Just like, well, even in this state, in conservative Minnesota.
Could he get in with that reputation the way, Jim Jordan couldn't get the votes? I mean,
well, he's got the votes. He got 217.
No, he did, but I mean, if Jim Jordan couldn't get it,
right?
I mean, I don't know that this Johnson guy could either. So,
yeah, I don't know.
I don't. Obviously, some behind the deal was done the other night because when Tom Emmer threw his hat in the ring, withdrew, Mike Johnson was elected 5 minutes later. So something went down behind the scenes, and I don't know what. The usual smoke-filled room stuff. That's 3 weeks of my life I wish I could have back. I mean, it was just, again, I question whether this does anything. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know nothing about this guy, and some sort of deal was reached, and I think over the next weeks and months we'll find out what that was exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm interested to see it, and I'm not interested to see it.
Well, I mean, at least they can move forward, and hopefully they will move forward with some precision and some aggressiveness. I usually don't want that out of my government, but when it comes to making sure that we don't pass another continuing resolution, when it comes to making sure that we've got Israel's back, when it comes to a number of things like that, I do want them to be swift and decisive.
Well, here's the thing. I think getting Israel's back would take 5 minutes. I think we'll get into that in a little bit. But that, I think, has always been the hang-up, that they're not, there's a million things they could pass tomorrow.
Right.
They don't want to pass everything, the whole kit and caboodle, at one time. I mean, this is, President Trump vetoed this in his last year. This has been a continuing issue of, it happens here in the state all the time that everything gets all tossed together at the very, very end. Mm-hmm. And I hate that. I just don't know that changing speakers changes this. I don't know that the outcome is going to be any different because I said this before and I'll say it again. Republicans don't have the votes.
Yeah.
And they don't have the votes in the Senate and they don't have the White House. So their expectations, while I'd love to see them go for the jugular, to be honest with you, I don't see a difference at where it ends up. It's going to end up somewhere in between.
Right.
And and like I said to you 3 weeks ago, I think McCarthy passed a 45-day resolution because he didn't have a deal he could sell to his base. I need more time.
Okay.
I think that's what he was thinking was, look, I don't want to shut down because we'll lose that argument publicly.
Right.
And I don't want to hodgepodge another year because that doesn't get us anywhere.
Right.
I need more time to cut a better deal. I think that's what he was trying to do.
Okay.
And it ended up being his downfall. But again, I don't know how it changes here. We'll see.
Well, I mean, that's all we can do.
See if old MJ can do any gooder. I mean,
Well,
I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't think anything could fix Washington. So,
yeah, well, that's true.
one last thing, Jay. Your buddy,
Yeah,
Dean Phillips, announces he's running for president of the United States today.
I missed that.
Yeah, you missed that, huh? I wonder if he's going to run for Congress again. He has to decide.
Yeah,
I suppose not until the nominating conventions, whenever those are, March or April. Seen in New Hampshire with the Dean Phillips bus today.
Yeah.
Universal condemnation from a lot of Democrats, which is kind of funny considering over half the Democrats want somebody other than Joe Biden, yet when somebody other than Joe Biden gets in, they get met with scorn and with all that. So what do you make of Dean Phillips jumping in the race? Jay, are you ready to go out there and put that Phillips sign in your front yard?
No, I'm not. I don't like the guy.
Well, he's my congressman, and I didn't vote for him. I have emailed him a couple times, and he has gotten back to me. And I did thank him on the air here for one of the very few people to condemn people on his side during the Israel thing. But what is his motive here? I mean, what's his motive of getting in? I know he's criticized Biden a lot. He's criticized Biden's age. I think he said out loud what a lot of people are saying behind the scenes.
Yeah.
He's called for younger people to take, these 80-year-olds who have been in charge of the Democrats forever, which I think is a legitimate criticism in my opinion. I mean, Nancy Pelosi's what? I mean, Dianne Feinstein was wheeled in to vote for things. I mean, it was kind of pathetic. He is kind of right on that.
Yeah.
What's his thing here? Here's what I love too.
Okay.
Now he's described as the millionaire businessman. He was never described at that running for Congress.
Right.
You know the first time I noticed that?
Yeah.
I know you and I aren't the biggest Mitt Romney fans, but I remember when he ran against Ted Kennedy back in Massachusetts. Romney was constantly described by the media as the millionaire businessman.
Oh, yeah.
As if the Kennedys didn't have any money.
I know.
So now Dean Phillips runs against Joe Biden. He's the millionaire businessman.
We call him Joe Biden the $10 million.
Phillips actually probably made his money out in the marketplace. He hasn't sat in government for 50 years.
Didn't make his money from the Chinese and the
Ukrainians. I know. Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny watching the coverage of it. What's his end game, though? What's he doing? What's he up to? Is he looking for a different job? Is he looking to maneuver to go run for governor or something? What's he doing?
I don't know. That's a great question.
I mean, he has to get in this knowing he isn't going to win it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Democrats control the process. They have the most undemocratic process of electing somebody with the superdelegates and the manipulation behind the scenes. Yeah, I said this before. If Trump were a Democrat, he'd have been taken down by the superdelegates.
Right.
So, I mean, it's like Bernie Sanders was. So, I mean, what's his motive for getting in?
Well,
see, with Robert Kennedy, I thought it was policy.
Right.
It was policy, not personal.
Yeah.
With Phillips, I don't know that him and Biden are all that far apart on stuff.
I mean, they haven't. You don't see Phillips standing up against the Invest in America Act or whatever. I mean,
against the shutdowns.
The only thing it could be is either A, he wants the power, or B, he does not like how corrupt the Bidens are, and it's just a matter of principle.
Thinks Biden can't win.
Could be.
I mean, it could be one of those. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I've been waiting all year for somebody to get into the race. I don't know that he's the person I thought it would be.
Right.
But poor guy's getting just ripped by people who've been supporting him and giving him money and blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
I don't really get it. I mean, what is this? What is this attachment to Joe Biden? What is it?
I don't know. Is he going to bring
have,
on Al Franken as his
Trump,
running mate?
Do you have Trump derangement syndrome that badly? I mean, Jesus, I creep. I mean,
I don't know.
We'll make it 4 years, folks. We'll make it, okay? We made it through Jimmy Carter, and we made it through Barack Obama.
We'll make it through the first 4 years, I think. I don't think we make it through another 4 years.
I think we will. I mean, if we could handle Woodrow Wilson, we can handle anything. Now, Jay,
yeah.
I want to get into what we're going to talk about here, which is sort of the if you want to call it anti-Semitism, the rise in that.
Yeah.
And the blatant rise in that. Did you see the resolution the other day passed out of the House, basically reaffirming our support for Israel?
Yes.
And the squad all voted against it, and which I think it was 9 or 10 people. You know the names.
Yes.
I mean, AOC, Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar,
Ayanna Pressley, Rashide Tlaib.
Yep. I mean, you know the people. And this is what I don't get. I'm against what we're doing in Ukraine. I am against giving them a blank check. I think we could have settled this a long time ago. But I would vote for a resolution supporting the Ukrainian people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would vote for that. I would say, yes, Putin's the eviler guy here. He's the aggressor in this, even though it is not an unprovoked attack. And Mike Pence just said that over the weekend. It is not unprovoked.
No.
We pushed this. I'm sorry, but it's true. I know you
true.
neocons don't like to hear that. You Bill Crystals and you chicken hawks don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. Now, I'd still vote for a resolution saying, Russia, get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
So what's so hard about voting for a resolution saying, condemning Hamas and, standing up for the only democracy over there? What is so difficult about voting for that?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like a tough thing. Everybody watched that thing play out in front of their eyes like I did. It seems, you're not going to unwrap thousands of years of human history.
But that's not what they're asking.
But no, this event, it was unprovoked on behalf of Hamas, not on behalf of Israel. And I personally believe they have a right to go in and defend themselves.
Yeah, and by the way,
yeah,
could the President of the United States send a more mixed message? You already said the other day.
What?
Oh, I think he called on Israel to, quote, show restraint.
Yeah.
And in the very same sentence says we back Israel 100%. Hey, how about you call on Ukraine to show restraint? Do you ever do that, Mr. President? Oh, no. But
no.
Israel's the one country that if they get attacked, they have to show restraint.
I know. It's ridiculous.
What an idiot. God, President Biden could screw up. He couldn't count to 10 without using his fingers. God, just what a moron.
Well, yeah. I don't know. He could only make it more of a mixed message if he ordered a plate of halal goat meat and matzah bread. I don't know.
That would double down on it.
It would, yes. I mean, isn't that basically what he's doing? We support you, Israel, and then we're gonna give the Palestinians millions of dollars.
Yeah, we're gonna give you 60 pitches. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
We support you, but we kind of
yeah.
So yes, there were the we called out the people who typically. Now I will say this: I think that the Republicans have gone a little nuts in their response to this. Because some people, Mike Lawler of New York being one, has called...
No relation to Jerry?
No relation to the king.
Okay.
Has called on all 10 of these to resign. And
yeah, good luck with that. When you have no shame, you're not going to...
and Marjorie Greene is out there trying to push
resolutions to censor them and censure, I should say.
Censure them, yeah.
And I should say, look, you know what? As much as the anti-Semitism and the just hatred for Jewish people, I just cannot believe is in people. I defend their freedom of speech. I mean, they shouldn't resign for casting a vote I don't like. Sorry, I just don't believe that. And, let them expose who they are. I mean, what bothers me more than that is not hearing people on the left call out their own people. That is what's really pissing me off. If this was the Republicans, Jay, no Republican could go on television without being asked about this. Mm-hmm. Hey, AOC made some statements over that. Well, what do you think about that, Mr. I mean, why don't Democrats get the same treatment?
Because
Tlaib basically blamed Israel for being attacked.
Yeah.
And yet no one says a word. The president doesn't say a word. Everybody, where Ilhan, Omar, Amy Klobuchar, where are you? Yeah. Tina Smith, where are you? Hiding under your desk like the cowards you are.
You should be calling out Ilhan Omar because she's from your state.
It's bad for your party, by the way.
Absolutely.
It's bad for humanity. It's wrong. But fine, censure that. But what the hell does that mean? I mean, I would take a megaphone. I would have Omar next to Joe Biden on commercials. That's what I would do.
It's like the United Nations. We will write you a strongly worded letter with our disapproval
and a big check from the United States.
Yeah.
So what's so difficult about and look, I'm not a big fan of these resolutions, but she's just. I don't know. I find it embarrassing. I mean, it just goes to show 30 years ago, this would have passed unanimously without anybody thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And times are changing. That's all I can say. A little scary.
A little bit.
I tell you what.
Yes.
And I'm not a big fan of, going after businesses I don't like and all that. I choose not to shop places. Yeah. But I'm not a big fan of calling them out, hurting the workers there and all that. Because the shareholders, they get their money no matter what. But I'll tell you what.
I make exceptions. There are certain places
I maybe do.
I
used to love Disney, Jay.
I used to love Disney. I love Disney World. And if it weren't so dang expensive and they weren't such...
Yeah, they're not as family friendly as they were. But,
I won't do it.
I'm with you on that.
I haven't shopped at Target since probably last.
Yeah, I shop at Target.
February, March. I don't know.
Billionaire donors are pulling support from elite universities over Israel-Hamas responses. You think that'll get anybody's attention over there at Harvard? I tell you what. Why would anybody go to a university in this country? You know what? Go out and get experience, learn a trade. Just do that.
Yep.
But these tycoons have been pulling support left and right. I wonder if that'll have any effect at all.
Yeah.
Harvard lost the support recently of the Wexner Foundation, whoever they are, and the support of one of Israel's wealthiest billionaire couples, Idan and Benita Ofer. I don't know who they are. Students at Cornell are calling for Professor Russell Rickford to be fired for applauding Hamas's violence. At an off-campus pro-Palestinian rally, Rickford called on Hamas's attack exhilarating and energizing. But where's Cornell?
Oh, where is Cornell? Now
it's up in the Northeast.
It is somewhere. It has to be, but let me look it up.
I just want to know, you people want to pay this guy's salary? I'm sure he's got tenure.
Cornell is... That doesn't help. Ithaca, New York.
Of course.
Of course.
A George Washington University professor, Laura Shahihai, is reportedly facing a federal rights complaint for allegedly mistreating Jewish students. Shahihai also endorsed Hamas following these attacks. I mean, what do you get peanuts for brains? How do you become a professor?
Yeah.
Again, you got the right to think this? Sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I got the right not to pay your salary.
Well, I mean,
about that?
there's some truth to that. I mean, when you look at it that way, our taxes pay for these people to stand up and say this stupid stuff. Now, having the right to say it, that's one thing. But me paying you to do it, I don't agree with that.
We're saying it as a representative of a college.
Yeah.
I mean, look, companies let people go cut sponsorships with people for things they say all the time.
Right.
You know, Ray Rice, remember him? I mean, lost everything due to domestic violence thing.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, he wants to defend himself in that he can, but doesn't mean anybody's got to pay him anymore.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, it's ugly on college. Colleges are a disgrace in this country right now.
oh,
They're just a disgrace.
you couldn't pay me to go to some of these colleges. I would be kicked out and expelled within a week.
For sure.
I would be.
I would be within the hour.
Because I wouldn't be able to sit down and take it. I wouldn't be able to keep my mouth shut and just, okay, well, my degree is worth it. I'm just going to. No, I would feel a moral obligation to put these professors in their place.
But aren't you there to get skills, to have a successful career? Isn't
You're there
that why
to get
you go to college?
indoctrinated. That's why you're there.
I thought you went to college for a reason, you know.
Wow, that used to be the case. When the world made sense, that's the way things worked. The world doesn't make sense anymore, Andrew.
Speaking of not making sense,
Yeah.
the Democratic Socialists have come out in big time.
Oh, yes, they
support
have.
whoever they are.
Well, I'm sure they're loud and proud about it. I'm sure that we'll be able to look it right up.
Democratic Socialist Minnesota's chapter, which we'll get into in a second, but Democratic Socialists of America is the largest socialist organization in the United States. DSA members are building progressive movements for social change while establishing an openly democratic socialist presence in American communities and politics. Now, I know you're a member of this, Jay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know me really well because that's me.
They support here. This is from
goodness, yeah.
DSAUSA.org. At the root of our socialism is a profound commitment to democracy as a means to an end. Of course, we don't live in a democracy.
No.
As we are unlikely to see an immediate end to capitalism tomorrow. Actually, capitalism doesn't exist. We have crony capitalism in this country. They support a decrease the influence of money in politics.
Yes.
Unless, of course, it goes to Democratic Socialists. Empower ordinary people in the workplace and the economy. And listen to this. Listen to this gobbledygook. Restructure gender and cultural relationships to be more equitable.
Okay.
Hell does that mean?
I don't know. Restructuring to be more equitable. Well, it means tearing down everything that we know and replacing it with something we don't like.
Maybe. Oh, listen to this paragraph. Boy.
Okay.
See if you haven't heard these words before. We are socialists because we share a vision of humane international social order based both on democratic planning and market mechanisms to achieve equitable, this is a long sentence, equitable distribution of resources, meaningful work, a healthy environment, sustainable growth, gender and racial equity, and non-oppressive relationships.
Huh.
Now, Jay, You're known as an interpreter. Can you tell me what the hell that means?
Non-oppressive relationships. Well, that's tearing down the patriarchy is what that is, but also, I guess, tearing down women when it doesn't agree with your... I mean, sometimes women are good, sometimes women are bad. Just depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Well, I think, again, the natural order of it is if you're a housewife or if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a traitor to the cause.
Right.
You can't do that. You have to trash your husband, tell him he's worthless, neuter him, put him in the testicle lockbox, and then you need to go out and be the, it's like you see in Hollywood.
Right.
I've often said this. There was a shift in television to when women were the TV moms that I admired and like to this day.
Yeah.
I don't know when it switched, but it switched and it became horrible.
Right.
And I think their interpretation of a strong woman is one who yells a lot and all that. Are the opposite of a strong person.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't need to yell. Yelling doesn't make you anything.
Right.
So, but I think that's what they're talking about here. And look, do I believe that women can do any job? Jay, yes is the answer. Do I believe they should? Now, that's a different question.
Right.
You decide to have a family. You decide to, but you have to make those choices.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't have everything.
Right.
My mom was a strong woman, and she stayed home. She went back to work when my sister and I were teenagers, but you wouldn't call her a weak woman.
Right.
Not a chance. She didn't have to yell. She didn't have to be a police officer or a truck driver.
Right.
She didn't have to run for president. I mean, I guess I just do not agree with that definition. I just don't.
And maybe I should say maybe I shouldn't say this because it'd be controversial, but maybe that's all the more reason I should say it. I'd say there are certain jobs men shouldn't do, I think there are some men that can be good nurses. And I'm not saying this as a chauvinistic, women belong as nurses. I'm saying that if I were sick and in the hospital, I would want someone that kind of has that nurturing spirit to be able to take care of me. A lot of men don't have that.
I don't have it.
I don't have it. I'm like, come on. You're going to be just fine.
Stop whining.
Let me get you that, but buck up.
Hold on. The game's on. Wait for a commercial.
I would take good care of somebody if I were a nurse, but I do not have that
I would take
nurturing...
good care of my wife. I don't know that I could take care of
No, I could, but...
She can, though.
I don't have that nurturing spirit. Yeah, mothers, that's kind of built into mothers.
Yeah, it's kind of like being a stay-at-home dad, Mr. Mom. I'm not sure men are the best at that,
Yeah.
I just think women have it in them to be... take care of that family side and run that household, and the man goes out and kills dinner and brings it. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Fixes
I stay
the car.
home, kids playing out in the middle of the street. He'll be fine. Right? Not really. But, I'm exaggerating.
Don't want me to wash the clothes. Yeah,
Yeah, how many times have you put the reds in with the whites?
Oh, boy. I got a lot of pink. No, I just...
No, but and we're not saying a woman's place is in the home. A woman's place is as a nurse. A woman's place is as a teacher. That's not what we're saying. But there are certain things that men just aren't as good at. Just likewise, there are some things that, can a woman be a good police officer? I believe she can.
Of course.
However, when you get into a situation with a violent perp, right?
Yeah.
You need somebody that is bigger, has bigger muscle mass. So maybe you're partnering those people one-on-one, and sending them out together. But you don't want to have a woman who's 5'2", 125 pounds tackling somebody that's 6'5".
Not only that, but Jay, I've seen this with security before.
Yeah.
I will not name the place, but there's a place that I go to.
Yeah.
And literally the security people there are both 400 pounds apiece. They couldn't catch my city shadow. They couldn't catch.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing working in security? You can't move. or you can't have a 60-year-old grandmother in that role.
Right.
And it's not a knock against women to say that. I mean, it just, unfortunately, that's one of those areas where no matter what you say, you're going to get somebody who's going to just stand there and call you names.
Yeah.
And I'll say this much too. I would never in a million years let my wife do quote unquote a man's job. I would never let her, if she wanted to be a police officer, you forget it. You want to drive a truck? No way. Okay? Because it's just not becoming of her. She's too good for that. And I'll do the jobs like that around here. Okay?
Yeah.
What kind of guy lets their wife, change their tire or fix the gutters outside? No.
There are
That's
some women
my
that
job.
have an acute interest in cars.
Okay, they can be interested in it. They can watch YouTube videos. I'm going to do it because that's my, I learned that from my dad. It's you take care of this stuff.
Well, okay.
You don't sit around and wait for the woman to do it for you. You take care of it. It's your job.
Right.
So it's kind of, I just feel like when gender roles get so messed up and the mixed messages you send to people.
Yeah.
And the decline of family, the decline of marriage, the decline of all that's, again, part of what's happened over the last 40 or 50 years.
Yeah.
The consequences of that are many. And by the way, can I say something too about this Palestine stuff? Have you seen this? I might have sent it to you. Rally, this is from NPR. Rally for Palestine draws thousands to Bryant Square in Minneapolis.
Oh, boy.
They were holding up signs, "Queers for Palestine." Now, do you know in the Muslim world, if you're openly gay, what happens to you?
You get thrown off a building.
You get hung by a tree, okay? How do they treat women over there?
Not well.
Okay, so why then does the far left like them so much?
Well, I mean,
I'd love AOC to go over to Iran, walk in there and spout off what she says here.
yeah.
And she'd come home minus her head. Okay,
Yeah.
so why are you supporting people who believe in the opposite of what you believe in? Does Israel treat women that way? No.
No, they don't. But there is, how do I say this? That there are people that don't agree on a whole lot, but there are a couple of things that are overarching that they agree with. And that seems to supersede anything else. And they're willing to throw their differences aside to bring America down.
Yes, very much so.
That the socialism end of it is a lot more important than the nitpickety stuff. We can overlook so much because the great Satan is America. So, right? And that's the way that the Muslims, not all Muslims, that's the way that radical Muslim or Islamists feel about the United States. And then that is also kind of the way that socialists feel about the United States. We've got to do away with capitalism. So if they can do away with capitalism, take down the United States, rebuild it the way they want to, they each think they're going to win in the end. So if they're successful, they're going to go head to head for who has, it's a battle royale for who's the last individual standing in the ring, binary or not.
Yeah.
But I think they believe if they join together that they can overthrow the United States, which right now is a far greater power to stand against all of them than if it were taken out of the way. Then they can divvy up the pieces.
Profound. Now, organizers of this Bryant Square March, I just want to say that they are concerned about the ongoing looming invasion of Gaza by Israel which will mean the deaths of scores of civilians. Well, how about the civilians that were just killed in Israel by a Hamas attack?
Yeah.
Where's the worry there?
There's no worry there. There's only do not tell them what to do.
Yeah, so now this lady, Hanani Idahahum, was...
What?
That's the name. Hanani Idahahum.
Okay, then.
Said, quote, I'm here to stand with Palestine, of course there's no such thing, and show solidarity and say no to colonization and oppression of the Palestinian people and no to killing civilians. We are witnessing a genocide. Where are we witnessing a genocide? Is that true?
I would like to know, because from what I can sense, when you're committing genocide, you don't drop leaflets all over the country. Tell them to get out.
You don't have a ceasefire to allow people to move either.
Yeah, you don't wait for a week when you told them you were going to give them 24 hours. You don't let aid come into the area. You know what I mean? It's
incredible.
Yeah. That is the worst genocide I've ever seen.
Another just ridiculously overused term. But now,
Yes.
Jay, the Twin Cities
Yes, I'm familiar with them.
has a DSA of its own, Democratic Socialists
Yes, it does. Isn't
of
that
America.
amazing?
They released a statement, and then 3 days later they released another statement, kind
Yeah.
of backing off a little bit. I would argue they doubled down. And one of the few people that I have seen really jump on this group, and I want to thank him, is Ken Martin, the chairman of the DFL,
Yeah.
who bashed this group several times on Twitter.
Good for him.
And I didn't. He's where I found this from. So I
Okay.
follow him on Twitter.
Yeah.
And you usually don't see chairs of a party and kind of go after their own in a way. And I mean, I'm not
you
saying
have to in this.
Yeah, I think in
instance.
this case he had no little choice. But
You had better.
I would say, like I said, beyond him and Dean Phillips, I didn't witness much of this here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's pretty much been, weak little statements. But Ken Martin tagged them several times and went off on a tangent. I got to say, it was far stronger language than I've heard from almost anybody on the political left.
Right.
We, the Twin Cities chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, are heartbroken after watching 2 million Gazanians leave the world's largest open-air prison, where access to basic needs like medical care and electricity are frequently denied to them by Israel. Really? Is that true?
No, it's not. After all, we found out that after Israel was blamed for sending missiles or sending rockets at a hospital, no, that was Hamas that did that. And it was an accident, but it was not Israel. And that it landed in the parking lot and not in the hospital.
Huh.
We also found out that Hamas rips up the water pipes to make rockets. So any lack of water, that's not.
Well, again, it's the old Germans burning the Reichstag
Right.
and blaming communists.
Oh, absolutely.
We, the Twin Cities chapter of the Democratic Socialists, are also resolved. We are resolved in our fight to support the efforts of the Palestinians in their efforts to free their people. Just as Palestinians took to the streets after George Floyd was murdered, we are resolved to show the same solidarity in defense of Palestinian liberation. And it goes on and on and on to basically say the USA sucks. We're fascists. Israel is killing everybody in sight. This is the Twin Cities DSA Steering Committee, whoever the hell that is.
Yeah.
That was published on October 9th. October 12th, they made, quote, a follow-up statement. Now, if you're going to make a follow-up statement, there's kind of a couple rules to doing that.
Right.
Either junk what you said expand on what you said, give evidence and reason for what you said, or double down on it.
Yeah.
They doubled down on it. Now, they tried, and I'm going to say they tried to, for example, we strongly condemn attacks on civilians by Hamas. Now, how hard was that not to put in the first statement?
Right.
It's strange how they left that out. Isn't that interesting how they left that out?
Yeah.
Well, why would you leave
Usually
that out?
you say the thing you believe first. Yes. Can you misspeak and give a more clear statement?
Yes.
Yes.
But remember, this is a steering committee.
Right.
This is not a person who made an off-the-cuff statement with a microphone in
Right.
their face.
And this isn't something where you're clarifying something. You just didn't say the most important and glaring thing in the room.
Yeah.
You know?
They say this, and then they immediately go after Israel.
Yeah.
In our previous statement, we made the conscious choice to center the lives of the oppressed people in Palestine. They're not oppressed. They're the largest welfare recipients in the world. That's what they really are.
Huh.
Palestinians have suffered under colonial violence and apartheid. Not to mention the mass death and kidnapping of, blah, 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 blah. They sort of make a weak little statement. Then they go, we condemn the attacks by the government of Israel and the IDF.
Yeah.
We stand in solidarity of a free Palestine because we want to see the violence ended. Well, we've been trying to end the violence there for 500,000 years. Our media fails to hold the lives of Palestinians killed by Israel as sacred as the Israeli citizens killed by Hamas. Are you kidding me? Our media would attack Israel any day of the week times 100.
Yeah.
Especially with Netanyahu in charge.
They have not stood with Israel.
Give me a break.
No.
What the hell show are you watching?
God,
even The View came out and supported Israel, for God's sake.
Yeah. I mean,
Jeez.
It's crazy to see to what degree a lot of Democrats have come out to support Israel, and the media has not followed. No. Well, I mean, take a look, though, like at the New York Times. I mean, the New York Times used to be full of Democrats. All of the Democrats have been ousted in favor of people who are far left. The people that were there were not far left enough.
No, it's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough.
Yeah.
It's the old going from Martin Sabo to Keith Ellison to Ilhan Omar. You keep sliding that way.
Right. And that's the way, that's what's happened in Golden Valley. And you have to take a look at this because it's also happened in every big city, and the suburbs around the big cities. They have
at least
been
the first ring ones
excellent at recruiting candidates, putting them up against not so left Democrats, and getting the backing of the Democratic Party. Well, while you are giving Ken Martin congratulations for what he said, and he should have congratulations for what he said, who has the Democrat Party backed? They have backed the far left candidates in almost every instance. They are the ones that endorse Ilhan Omar. They are the ones that, and look at that. You don't even have to go down to the local level. You can, because like I said, it's happening even in Golden Valley, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, blah, 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 blah,
the
blah,
thing
blah.
is when that happens, they are paralyzed by the far left. They've put them in power, so they can't restrain them. You're at a point now where they can't be restrained.
Yeah.
Well, how do you walk that back? How do you back Ilhan Omar and now walk back?
Yeah. We've got an election coming in 2024. I would like to see Ken Martin say, if she wins the endorsement, she wins the endorsement, but as the party chair, I can't back her because of her stance on Israel. You won't see it.
Probably not.
You won't see it.
Now, what he's saying, he won't say that publicly.
No.
Yeah, he might be behind the scenes.
That stand for something or just.
Yeah, I don't know that that's the role of the party chair. I'm just gonna say that straight out.
You know what? if I was
I'm not
party chair of the
defending him.
Republicans, I would sure give my.
If
my
I were
opinion.
party chair, I would be doing everything I could behind the scenes. I don't know that
For
I'd
somebody
say
that's
so.
dangerous, I wouldn't do it in the case of Bob Dole versus, but I sure would if it were somebody that I thought was going to be a disaster.
Yeah, and I don't. The only thing I can think of is as the Democratic Party has gone so left and just wasted away in half the country or more. I mean, Ilhan Omar, there's about 15 districts she could be elected in. If you ran her in CD2, she'd lose by 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ran her in CD3, her and Dean Phillips switched places, Omar would get creamed. My question becomes, Omar was put in this role behind the scenes by DFLers. They arranged this when Keith Ellison ran and abandoned CD5 because they orchestrated him to be the anointed one for Attorney General. So somebody was doing the planning, whether it was Martin, whether it was behind the scenes people, whether it was CD5 leadership, whether it was whatever, whoever it was, they put these people in these places.
Yes, they do.
So, but like I said, it's going to take somebody, I would say it would take somebody much bigger than Ken Martin. It would take legislative leaders. We know the governor isn't going to do it. But it would take somebody like that, I think, to really walk that back. And you'd need a really strong primary challenger that was backed by money.
Yeah.
They could do it. The DFL can direct the money.
Sure they can.
So I don't know. I don't know that you're going to see that. You probably aren't. I think they look the other way because they just count it as a seat for them. And they'll deal with whatever crazy stuff comes up. I think that's how they view it.
But this is the crazy thing about the Democrat Party, too. It's like it's run by super donors. It's not run by the people. So for you to twist a few arms and
Well, why don't the super donors do it? We're not going to donate if you give money to this person. You could support a liberal cause without supporting every liberal legislator.
Yeah.
It's like I'm liberal, I'm not socialist. Why can't you make that distinction?
because they don't care. I mean, it really, at the end of the day.
Well, see, then nothing's going to change because the money changes everything. Unfortunately, the money changes everything.
It does.
You don't have any money, you can't run.
Yeah.
It's just anyhow. The reason I want to bring up the local is you have this organization, the Twin Cities chapter, has endorsed. We have Minneapolis and St. Paul races coming up in a couple weeks, and they've endorsed 7 people.
Yeah.
For boy, I'm going to have fun trying to pronounce some of these names. What? I mean, is this in America? I'm just curious if these names are in America here.
Well, they are now.
For re-election, no, some of these names are a little easier than others. Ward 2 in Minneapolis. Democratic Socialists have endorsed Robin Wansley for re-election. Jason Chavez in Ward 9 for re-election.
You forgot about Ward 8, Soren Stevenson.
I was going to get back to that because he or she, whatever that is not running for re-election. I was doing the re-election.
I see. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Soren Stevenson in Ward 8. Ward 10, oh boy. Aisha Chugahatai in
Chugtai.
Chugtai. And then, oh boy, in Ward 12, Ariane Chowder Hungry. No.
Aaron Chowdhury.
Chowdhury.
Yes.
Aaron Chowdhury. Now over in St. Paul for re-election, we got Nelsie Yang over in Ward 6. And in Ward 5, we have Hwa Joing Kim.
Well, that's a fine Korean name, Hwa Jung Kim.
Hwa Joing Kim. Now, Jay, I've been scouring these folks' Twitter pages and so on and so forth, seeing if I can get them to even say anything about this endorsement or this And right at the top, you can see all the pictures of these beauties.
Yeah.
Of any such, none of them that I can find. Now, if you can find something, if you in the audience can find something, that's fine. But I don't see where any of them distance themselves from these comments or even mention them.
What?
I can't find a condemnation from any of these people. I know you're shocked.
This Soren Stevenson that's running, is that really Jack Sparrow? Like, did he shave his head? Because in the picture there, he's got a face mask and an eye patch on.
Really?
Yeah, you got to zoom in on it. I'm surprised that they're not saying anything because each of these are DSA members, it says right below their picture. These are all members of the Democratic Socialists of America that they have endorsed, and that's probably why they didn't endorse Keith Ellison's son, Jeremiah Ellison.
Is he up
for his
though?
race? I believe he is. Okay. I thought he was this time around. Maybe he's not. I thought he was, though.
I thought he was 2 years ago, but maybe you're right.
But look, how many wards are in Minneapolis? 1, 2, 3, 4,
13?
5. 5 of them are confirmed DSA members. I mean, they're not all running for re-election, but some of them sure are.
So they are all DSA members.
Yeah.
Holy, I didn't even notice that.
Zoom in on that photo
I
up at
see
the
that,
top.
dude.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It says DSA member down at the top, or down at the bottom underneath their individual pictures, and then the black and white picture up at the top.
Yeah, Captain Jack.
I think that's what happened. He shaved his head and then picked up a Scandinavian name, and then I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's it's kind of fitting they got loons for their their logo there. They are a bunch of loons, that's for sure.
Well, and I should mention.
Yes.
I'm looking at good old Nelsie Yang here.
Yeah.
Doesn't tweet much. Because she has 2 different Twitter handles.
Yeah.
One she seems to use pretty often, and one she doesn't use really at all. And once again, there's nothing on here about a Democratic Socialist endorsement. There's nothing about their statement on Israel. Nothing whatsoever. My guess is she has never been asked, never been pushed on it.
Yeah.
With ranked choice voting, I don't understand the election results, don't get it. But I think one of the things I just like people to know, that these folks are out here and what they really believe in, by the way.
Yeah.
And that these members, this isn't the Democratic Party, this isn't liberals. This is socialists who want to tear down the country and
Yes.
make it something different. And that's 7 people.
Yeah.
In these 2, I think St. Paul only has like 9 council people or something.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's
Minneapolis,
right.
I believe it's 13.
Yeah, I think you're right. 13 and then 9. Trying to find it.
Well, apparently Soren Stevenson lost an eye protesting Minneapolis police.
Really? Oh, let's get that guy on the council. See, they are willing to let a guy like that run. Oh, yeah, you look at that picture. One eye is like totally black, like he's possessed by the devil. And then the other one is normal. So, I don't know.
Shame on you, Jay.
Sorry. It is socialism. I don't know. You've seen all the socialists sitting around screaming at public meetings.
And I would
kinda
say
related.
on his website here, Soren Stevenson
Yeah.
is endorsed by the Minneapolis DFL, The Democratic Socialists.
So the DFL did endorse him.
The Minneapolis branch, yeah. Take Action Minnesota. Faith in Minnesota? Who are they? Minnesota Justice Coalition, Sierra Club.
All the winners.
Sunrise Twin Cities. I don't know who they are.
Yeah, me neither.
Endorsed by Robin Woolsey, Jeremiah Ellison, Aisha Gomez, who is a House member.
Yep.
She's a beauty. There's a bunch of people, I don't know who the hell they are. Former Minneapolis NAACP president, some guy with a mask. Jason, who would let you get photographed with a mask and put on somebody's website with a mask on?
I mean, that is your main header picture on your website. Oh my goodness!
It's just, I'm just kind of, I don't.
Yeah.
It's just strange to me.
We're dealing with a whole different breed of people here. I mean, you realize that.
Listen to this guy, David Brower, Ward 8 resident and former journalist.
Yeah.
Supporting Saran because our strong mayor system requires a council be an effective legislative branch. Saran will not be a rubber stamp. Now, that's a little shot at Mayor Fry.
Right.
Who's probably to the right of this guy.
Probably is, yeah. That would be my guess.
Weird as that might sound, he's actually a little more level-headed than some of the other people.
Yeah.
It's funny. Saran has one eye, yet we're going to talk about his vision. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, you're terrible.
Oh, boy.
He believes in, yeah.
I remembered.
I love he believes in dignified housing. That's another thing I don't think I've ever heard before.
Dignified housing.
Supports families, supporting families against police violence.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you what. Why, if you were a cop, why would you work in Minneapolis?
I don't know. There's not really a reason for it. There's
you
really
hate us
not.
so much, then you deal with us. Hey, Saran, you sit there and answer 911 calls.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Serious. I mean, can you imagine being a police officer and having these people?
No. I mean, you know they're not going to have the backs of police officers.
Well, they're looking for a reason to destroy you.
And just so you know, in case you weren't sure, I mean, yeah, there's a Twin Cities Democratic Socialists of America. There's also a Twin Ports Democratic Socialists of America. That's Duluth and Superior for all y'all.
And by the way, I wanted to say something else, too.
Hold on. Before you break in, there's also a Red River Valley DSA and a Rochester DSA. So they are trying to put up candidates in all those areas.
There's a Duluth one?
Yep.
Okay, then look that up. I want to see if they've endorsed any candidates for their election next week. But I want to say this Arian Chowder Hungry endorsements. You know, she's endorsed by the Minneapolis DFL, and quite a few of these unions. I'd like to ask these unions about this. You know, the Local 12, SEIU. You really support somebody like this? Regional Federation of Labor. I mean, you can't find somebody better than this person? I mean, my goodness. Protecting renters, building an equitable climate resilient city. Boy, we haven't heard that. Addressing homelessness. Yeah, you big cities have done that great. What are you going to do? Move the tents to another part of town?
Yeah. The Duluth one here has something that says no money for massacres. Solidarity Phone Bank, Democratic Socialists of America. The establishment won't stand up for Palestinians and is turning a blind eye to genocide. From the streets to the halls of power, we must stand up against the war machine and say no money for massacres. We can and must fight back right inside the halls of power. That is why we call upon comrades to call their Congress members and let them know we stand in solidarity in the fight for Palestinian survival and liberation. Click here to participate in national DSA's organizing efforts around Palestine. So no money for massacres. We must stand up against the war machine, say no money for massacres. How did you feel about the massacre that happened of the Ukrainians by Joseph Stalin? How did you feel about the massacre that happened in much of Eastern Europe by Joseph Stalin and Lenin? And how did you feel about the Armenian genocide that happened of Christians from Muslims? How did you feel
China and North Korea
about
right now?
China
Wow.
and North Korea? How about the killing fields down in the
About Pol Pot and
exactly in Cambodia with the communist dictator Pol Pot?
Well, that's just, that's the thing. Here's the other thing I got to say. Is Bernie Sanders considered a Democratic Socialist?
Yes, he is.
Okay, I want to read you his statement
Yes.
on what happened.
Well, I don't know if he's a socialist, like an old school socialist, or a democratic socialist. They make a distinction. There's really not.
Well, they quote him a lot on some of these websites, but I want to read you.
Yeah.
This is from October 7th. This is Senator Sanders.
Yeah.
I condemn the horrifying attack on Israel by Hamas, and there is no justification for this violence from Islamic Jihad. That was his statement.
Well,
on
he's
Twitter.
Jewish. It would be nice
Sure,
if he
that's
would stand
true.
up for his people. That's good.
Well, but I mean, that doesn't sound like that's their grand leader.
No.
That doesn't sound like Sanders is too. Now, I'm sure Sanders doesn't want to see violence on either side. I don't either. Okay,
Right.
I can understand that, but that was not on the same page. If
Yeah.
if that's the case.
Yeah. Duluth did not endorse anybody yet.
Oh, they couldn't find anybody.
For
Emily Larson isn't crazy enough. Gotta find somebody crazier than her.
Yeah, well, they apparently did not. According to their website, they got nobody. But they do have meetings occasionally. So
Let's go. Let's try
Yeah?
to Duluth.
You want to do that?
Maybe in the spring.
Their general
We'll go
meeting is
fishing in the
on the
spring.
second Sunday of each month at 4 p.m.
Perfect timing.
They have a
Jay.
racial justice working group that meets weekly, Thursdays at 6 p.m.
We're busy on Thursdays.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to one of these. I don't know if I'm that good of an actor.
I don't know. We talked about me stepping into a socialist Democrat meeting there.
That's true. I think
and
you could hide with
did
your
a
longer
little
hair,
right.
Jay. And
It was
you sing a
Medicare
few
for all,
songs.
Minnesota
Yeah.
Health Plan. Yeah,
You could
they're
pull it
they're
off.
helping to support that. So that's
I think I might get found out.
yeah, maybe I don't know. You can't go in wearing camouflage.
Yeah, that's true. I got the camouflage hat on, and maybe I
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah.
Certainly won't hide. Maybe I'll wear blaze orange or something. I don't know.
Ugh. So I mean, it's pretty clear. Even when they're drawing these kind of mealy mouth statements to say, "Oh, that's not us." I mean, they are saying other things that, yeah, they do not stand for the Jews' right to exist at all. Because at these demonstrations, one thing that we're hearing is from the river to the sea, and that means. That's code language for pushing the Jews into the sea.
Yeah.
There cannot be a two-state solution. They will not stop until Jews are gone out of Israel. They have also said something about there's only one solution. Well, that means the final solution. The final solution is killing off all the Jews.
Right.
That is something that Adolf Hitler talked about, was the final solution for the Jews.
You know, I got to tell you something. Do you know, by the way, there's a Brainerd Lakes area chapter, too.
Yeah. Well, they weren't on the website.
Okay, that's where I found it.
Huh.
The national one. Twin Ports? Where's Twin Ports?
That's Duluth
That's
Superior.
okay, Duluth Superior.
Yeah.
But you know, the media often calls out the quote unquote far right
Yeah.
for white nationalism, which
It's
so
it's
idiotic.
stupid.
You're a bunch of Ku Klux Klan members. Oh, you hate minorities. You hate blah 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 blah. Don't these groups hate?
Yeah.
Where's the condemnation of these groups?
No, there is none.
I mean, let me
There
ask
is
you
none.
something. Why is it if I always joke when I'm watching football or basketball that I cheer for the white guys. And I'm joking when I say that. But my point is, if I were Hispanic cheering for the Hispanic guy, nobody'd have a problem with it. If I were
Right.
black cheering for the black guy, nobody'd have a problem with it. If I'm white cheering for the white guy, then I'm a white nationalist and I'm Timothy McVeigh.
Right.
Okay, so I don't get that. I don't understand. I don't, by the way, I don't do that. I'm kidding when I say that. But the idea that these quote unquote far right militias, which is just, I just giggle at, I laugh at, that is so absurd. It's ridiculous to even claim. Are the biggest threats to Joe Biden has said that.
Yeah.
I don't see them bombing anybody. Do you?
Nope.
I don't see them shooting up a school or doing anything like that.
Nope.
So, I mean, what is he talking about? Who's he talking about?
I wish I knew. Some
Is
made
it
up.
Randy Weaver on a gun charge while you blow his whole family up?
Some made up straw man
No,
that doesn't exist.
It is. Joe Biden and the corporate media, they know that a certain percentage of this population will, if you blame something on the angry white guy, pick your angry white guy.
Yeah.
Pick your Timothy McVeigh, pick your Randy Weaver, pick your James Earl Ray, pick whoever. Not saying they're innocent of anything. I'm not saying that. But if you can find that one loon, there's a portion of this population that will believe Harvey Oswald. There's a portion of this population that will believe that hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
Every single time. Because if you can find one lug nut, you don't need a motive. You can explain it away as racist. Oh, they voted for Trump.
Right.
They voted for Bush. They're full of hate.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go any further than that. So, the idea that they're the people we have to fear, folks, is just, all 30 of them in the country. While you have, I don't see any white nationalists endorsing candidates and recruiting candidates to run for city council. You see that anywhere?
I don't. And I'm sorry. This white nationalist talk, and Christian nationalism.
It's even worse.
The stuff they try to hang around our necks. 3 words: Nathan Bedford Forrest. Look them up. The Democrats started the Ku Klux Klan. They perpetuated the Ku Klux Klan.
Nathan Bedford Forrest even left the Ku Klux Klan.
Robert Byrd was in the Ku Klux Klan. Joe Biden was friends with Robert Byrd.
But how about was that Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black?
Yeah.
Was supposedly a member. Now, look, you can be a member of something in your youth and disavow it when you're 60.
But they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. They justified it. It was all okay. Here's the thing. There's until we stop with this, because I'm doing a lot of freelance work on Martin Luther King right now.
Yeah.
There's so many little speeches he gave that I wish were more well known.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the "I Have a Dream" speech, or the last speech he made before he was killed, where he said, "I've been to the mountaintop. I might not get there with you." Like he could see his own death. And there's so many little speeches. I'm kind of obsessed with his assassination right now and looking into who really did it. And it's hard to look at him, and I've said this before, Jay, it's hard to look at him because in his time, he was a very controversial figure. Today, he's sort of universally praised, but back then,
he wasn't so much. He was pretty controversial. And I don't mean controversial as in he was corrupt or I mean, just, he took bold stands and he had simple solutions, simple ideas.
Yeah.
Was attacked by our government, was illegally wiretapped, illegally followed, warrantless searches were done on him. He was called a communist. A guy who stood up for free speech and freedom of assembly and the right to vote. And he was, but that's like calling somebody a racist today. You did it back then to discredit them. Now, in all these little speeches, I see so much the opposite today. I see so much of he would say little things like, and he would use Christianity a lot. You could tell how much faith was a motivator for him and how much Jesus Christ was an example for him.
Yeah.
And he'd talk about how, I want my children and the white children to go to school together. I want white police officers and black police officers fighting crime together. I want blah, 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 blah. But you aren't defined by your race. You aren't looked at as black first, white first. I mean, he said words like that.
Yeah.
And today we are 100% the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. Everything is race, gender, sexuality.
Yeah.
It's like you are a label.
Yep.
You look
Not
at
me.
somebody and you're a label.
Yep.
And I just marvel at how much he's celebrated, rightly so, but yet how far we are from. We were closer in the 80s to racial equality than we are now.
Yeah.
I mean, not racial equality, racial harmony.
Yes.
Than we are today. Mm-hmm. It's sick. It's just sick.
Yeah. Well, there have been studies done into that, and it seems that racial harmony seemed to top out around the beginning of President Obama's first term. It's like, oh, we elected a black president. Everything's okay now.
It was half white.
By the beginning of his second term, from there on, it has declined sharply.
What accounts for that? Does
Well,
he account for that?
Partly, yeah, because he says stupid stuff like he doesn't trust the white culture,
Yeah, he had to reject his own personal whiteness.
Yeah.
I mean, his mother was whiter than I am.
Yeah.
People forget that.
The
white grandma put him through college.
sowing the seeds of fear and hate.
Fear and hate is what the government pushes.
The government is totally
don't-
with the media
And
at
it's-
fault for a lot of that.
And it's too bad because he had such an opportunity to change that. He had the opportunity that no one else in this country has ever had. No one has ever had the opportunity to change that more than him.
Yeah.
He completely failed at it. You're right. He failed at it 100%. I don't think he cared about it. I think he cared about winning, power. Maybe he didn't go into it with that intent, but that's what ends up happening. Maybe that's politics. I don't know. But he failed at the one thing he said he'd do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure the left is going to blame the right and all that, but I don't agree with that. I don't think, look, I've seen levels of hatred for Donald Trump and for George W. Bush and for Newt Gingrich and people like that. I've never seen that level of hatred for anybody on the left.
Yeah.
I've never seen the right hate someone just to the point they needed therapy. I've
Right.
never seen that before. I didn't vote for President Obama. I don't hate his guts.
Yeah.
I don't want him dead. I don't want to trump up charges and put him in jail.
No.
So, I mean, Bill Clinton, I thought was a obvious felon. And I don't hate the guy either. So what is it with the left? And they're just, I mean, it's like, they ought to put their hate and rage into something productive.
Yeah.
It's like, what, if you went to work, I like to tell a liberal this, if you went to work and showed the same level of passion, rage, and just conviction that you do in hating Donald Trump,
You'd be running a Fortune 500 company right now. Maybe you ought to put if you put that into being a mother and or a father.
Yeah.
If you put that into that's what you should do with that.
Right.
You could grow up a little. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess is my answer.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of I don't know. It's funny. Like I said before, I didn't vote for President Obama, but there was 5% of me at the time. Because I don't wish failure on anybody. I kind of thought, you know what? I hope the guy succeeds.
Yeah.
I just hope he does.
Not with what he wanted to succeed with, but that America would succeed under him.
That we would do well as a country. And I just hoped that would happen. And I wasn't shocked when it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay? I wasn't. I was disappointed. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't be. I mean, maybe he sold us a line of BS. I don't know. But it's just,
Yeah.
But it's where you have a chance to be a leader. And what a leader does is they don't let other people control them. They make the right decision, not the politically convenient one. They make hard choices, like Harry Truman always did. He made a hard choice. It wasn't easy to fire Douglas MacArthur. It wasn't easy to do the Berlin airlift. It wasn't easy to drop an atomic bomb.
Right.
But he made the best decision and lived another day. And if it was the Republican or the Democratic decision, I don't know. Was firing MacArthur Republican or Democrat? I don't know. He felt he had to do it.
Right.
So MacArthur was insubordinate. It's the truth.
Yeah.
So, where's the guts of a Harry Truman? Where's the guts of a President Kennedy, where everybody around him wanted him to invade Cuba and he wouldn't?
Right.
You think that would happen? You think Joe Biden would say no to a bunch of his people around him? Tell Pete Buttigieg to go pound sand?
He is champing at the bit to be able to get involved militarily. And this is part of my theory. Okay? This is a theory. When you have numbers that are as bad, as dismal as President Biden, what is one thing that can save those numbers?
War.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you became
or spreading fear.
If you became a popular wartime president, there's a good chance you win the next election.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, remember President Lincoln, don't swap horses in the middle of a river.
Yeah.
And Americans have always stuck with a president during a war.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what, whether that was FDR, James Madison, President Lincoln, always stuck with a president during war. And you're probably right. That probably is, although it's a huge risk because today you don't have control over a war like you used to have. You aren't in a field shooting at another country.
And we don't fight to win either.
We haven't fought to win since 1945. So, I mean, World War II, we obliterated whole cities.
No.
We'll fight that way anymore.
But to be fair, again, America and Israel are apparently the only countries that do this. Before we bombed, Japan, we showered it with leaflets and told them what we were going to do and to get out.
Told their government what they were going to do. They knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
It's true. We tried. I mean, you're fighting a country that has kamikaze bombers against you. I mean, you're going to have to do something drastic to end that. And I'll say this. I've always supported the decision to drop the atomic bombs because my grandfather was out in the Pacific. They were going to invade Japan in the spring of 1946, and my grandfather could have lost that probably saved his life.
Yeah.
So as horrific as that was, life for life, I feel it was the right move. And you can debate that. People will argue with me all you want.
But again,
you want to lose 100,000 more Americans? Okay,
we dropped thousands upon thousands of
waited
leaflets
months
and told
to do
them to
it.
get out. Yeah.
I know. That's true.
Who does that? Not Russia.
Stalin.
Not Iran.
Yeah, Stalin
Not
didn't
China.
do it. I thought he told everybody there's going to be a famine right before there was going to be a famine.
Right.
Military is the element of surprise. That's always.
Yeah.
But again, we go on and on. I'm just, the state of race relations, I'm so sad by it. I watch a school board meeting, and all they will talk about is race, who's on free and reduced lunch,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Whether anybody's learning anything or not
Doesn't matter.
completely not anything they care about.
Did you hear what they did now in Oregon?
No.
You no longer have to meet the standards
to get a
in
high school diploma. I did hear that.
Yes, in math, reading, or
Hey, dumb us down more.
yeah,
Well, you know where that started was Los Angeles. They passed something called social promotion. That even if you failed, so you wouldn't feel bad and need some Adderall or Zoloft or Cialis, we're gonna or whatever it is. Let's Cialis.
Yeah,
Prozac.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah,
not Cialis. They're not handing
yeah.
that out in schools yet.
Not to fourth graders, maybe to eighth graders.
Give them a couple of years.
Hopefully
I'm
they
sure.
don't need it, but
once they declare what gender they are, they can feel free to give that out.
That's right, they can, and you know you can't deny it to some man who declares themselves a 50-year-old lesbian with no pants on. You've got, here's the whole thing. And social promotion was all about just moving them up a grade so they don't feel bad.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, they didn't learn anything.
Right.
Well, that doesn't matter. We're just going to make sure they have self-esteem and
Right.
they don't pout all day.
We'll see how their self-esteem is when they're 50 years old on welfare and they can't get a job.
Yeah, but what are they doing?
Or they try to get a job and lose the welfare, and then
Yeah, but they're voting Democratic either way.
wow,
That's the real goal. Remember,
God bless them.
Always say that of the Great Society. The real goal and the New Deal.
Right.
It was not about ending economic
Oh, no,
things.
no.
It was about creating pockets of Democratic voters.
Right, which is why they're letting everybody in on the border, creating new pockets of Democratic voters.
Hey, Israel, show restraint, but we're behind you.
Yeah.
Just remember that. God, if I were Netanyahu, I'd knee Biden in the boiler. Shut up. Just shut up is what I would say.
Did you see? I know this is it's related, but it's not related because I don't believe this at all. The rumors going around about Biden's chin when he was in Israel, and everybody thought it was a guy in a mask. Well, not everybody, but there were a lot of people that there's a guy.
Well, it is getting close to Halloween, so
Yeah.
What was that though? I saw that photo, but I didn't read anything attached
Just
to it.
because his chin was hanging down so far, it looked like there were a couple of golf balls in it. People thought, oh yeah, for sure. That's not really Biden. They sent a double. They sent a double, and they showed there was some other picture where there was like a line. I'm sure it was digitally altered, Or
put Oliver Stone on.
But his chin did look odd because, like, even when I saw the footage on Fox, his chin looked a little odd. I don't know what was going on that day. Could be the angle. Could be the
could have taken
lighting
a nap.
in the
Could have
room.
taken a nap wrong. I'll tell you what. He happened to be on TV speaking in a rare Biden speech or anything. And it was the most, I don't even remember what he said. It was meandering. It was, he could barely walk to the podium. I mean, it was pathetic. I'm sorry it's pathetic to watch this old guy.
right.
I mean, it's just sick. I mean, you know what? And again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The person I blame is his wife. That's who I blame. She should be protecting him. She should say, you know what? He served enough to his country. He's annoyed us for a long enough time. And he's going to go home for his last few years and be a grandfather and do that. I mean, because I've said this before. I did not understand the fascination with Eleanor Roosevelt. I've never understood that because I blame her for FDR's death.
Yeah.
Because she should have stepped in 1944 and prevented him from running again.
Yep.
That's what should have happened.
Should have.
And the consequences of that were great because FDR was in no shape to end the war. He was in no shape to deal with the post-war issues because of his diminished capacity.
Yeah.
And he should have been replaced right there. And she should have stepped in and done that. I would never, I don't know how Jill Biden sits there and lets her husband be humiliated and look like a fool and fall down
and walk into doors and shake hands with nobody there. How does she look at that?
She probably doesn't. She's busy with her rich friends or something. And
If that were my wife, I would never let that happen.
no, she listens to the podcast all the time. She's ready to yank you off if you start doing that stuff.
Don't give her any ideas. But yeah, I just what kind of life partner does that? I just think it's sad. I mean, she should be doing that. It's gross that she's not.
Yeah.
But
I know that's kind of off the topic, but
it's off the topic, but it's on the topic. If we say it, it matters, Jay. But here's the bottom line: these Democratic Socialists, these are true believers.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna have to watch out for. And I'll tell you what. I mean, you just got to wonder, who's taking control of your city or your neighborhood or something like that. I mean, it is downright scary. It is just downright scary.
Yeah.
And you can call me a racist if you want. If that makes you feel better to do that, you go right ahead. By the way,
yeah,
I want to say something too about this supporting Israel and supporting Ukraine, because
let's touch on that for a second.
I support them both. Because I had somebody call me Neville Chamberlain on Twitter the other day. Actually, somebody I thought highly of, and he kissed my ass now. He knows who he is. What I don't support is blank checks for an endless conflict that we're not trying to end. Okay, you look at Ukraine and Russia. We could be negotiating. We could be doing something other than just standing there giving him a... Now, I know Zelensky, he's got something on Biden. He's got to have something on him.
Oh, of course. And
then Trump's got to have something on Putin. There's something he has, I think.
Yeah.
I think Trump has something on him.
He might.
I don't know if there was a reason, but Zelensky's got to have something on the Bidens.
Well, of course he does. It has to do with Hunter Biden and Burisma and the money that Joe got.
But it's got to be bigger than that, because we already know that stuff. It's got to be.
But the press doesn't talk about it, and nobody seems to be investigating it very much.
I've been kind of disappointed with the House, because they really haven't pressed this much.
Yeah.
I mean, when Jonathan Turley's getting upset at the House, I know that it's not being investigated. He's doing a better job of it than they are.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Professor Turley, he was actually a pretty level-headed guy. But what I don't support is an endless war with a blank check. That doesn't mean that I support Putin. I don't know why people can't make that distinction.
Yeah.
That we are giving Ukraine hundreds of millions of dollars a day.
Mm-hmm.
A day. And I'd like to know, where is that money going exactly?
Yeah.
What is it getting us? You can't, the government of the United States can't cut my taxes 10 cents, but Ukraine can get anything they want to. Zelensky farts and Biden says, how good does it smell?
Yeah.
Okay. You got it. We just sent gazillions of dollars to Israel and the, quote, Palestinians. Why? Israel doesn't need any money. They got a superior army. But what are we sending them all this money for?
Yeah.
What do the Palestinians do with all the money they've been getting?
Putting it into rockets.
Yeah, it's going to the 1% or the 2% that keep the public enslaved and keep it for themselves. The point being, we are not problem solving right now. And I think the war in Ukraine could have been avoided, and it wasn't. I do put some of it on Joe Biden. I put some of it on Barack Obama for supporting the revolution of 2014 over there.
Yeah.
So that does not make me Neville Chamberlain, okay? I am not appeasing.
No, I was going to say he was known for appeasing Hitler. He was known for doing nothing and hemming and hawing. And it took, somebody like Churchill to come and say, no, we're going after him.
By the way,
but
Chamberlain strongly supported Churchill and admitted he was wrong after Germany invaded Poland.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the first people to admit that was a failure. Truth was, Britain wasn't ready for war. I mean, it just...
Well, and they weren't. And it took us joining the war to turn the tides.
And
It
you have to
really
give the
did.
British credit because they held out alone
they
for a
did.
year. But I'll just say this. I mean,
Well, the French coward. in
yeah.
their
But the Vichy
shorts.
But I'll
yes.
say this much: I just cringe at what we are spending abroad.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not a crime for me to want to put America first.
Mm-hmm.
The job of our government is to govern, is to look out for us first and somebody else second.
Heck, it's not even a crime to ask for accountability with our money. Where is it going? What is it doing? Where has it been spent? That's not Neville Chamberlain.
How about
That's just being.
How about what I've said before? What if
good
these
steward.
weapons in Ukraine get captured by the Russians?
Yeah,
What happens then?
I don't know.
What if the Russians sell them to Iran?
Same thing. Well, do they need to? I have a feeling
No.
they're coming from Afghanistan already.
Probably, and we're still funding Afghanistan. We are still giving money to the Taliban. But it's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, say what you want. I just have to chuckle at it. I mean, I get pissed off about it, but
Yeah.
I guess I have a forum that maybe a lot of people don't. But I hate war. I want this to end. I want us not to be involved. I want us to fix our own problems. And I don't see that happening with this president. And so, by the way,
Yes.
one last thing I want to point out here. Did you see the latest with Kennedy running as an independent? One poll has jumped up by 7. I just want you to say,
Yeah.
because I think Kennedy's going to do this, and I think Biden's going to be really, really hurt by it.
Yeah.
I think it's really going to be.
Well, I mean, we have to not look at the national polls. We got to look
True.
at the swing state polls and see how he's doing there. But,
and that's what you're not seeing right now. They're not
Right.
taking them probably because it's not good news
right.
to come out of there. But I'm just saying, I think that a lot of people just do not want to see Trump versus Biden. A lot of people do not want to see that rematch, and there is going to be a vacuum for a third party. It may be the most interesting election we've had in a long, long time.
Yeah.
So have fun with that. By the way, what is this snow BS coming into Minnesota?
I'm
I know
pretty
it's
sure.
I know it's up north, but
Yeah.
are they really
Is
getting
it?
4 to 9 inches?
Oh, you're kidding me. 4 to 9 inches? When?
There's a winter storm warning until tomorrow at noon.
Yeah, that can't be here.
Yeah, northwestern Minnesota. So up by Thief River Falls,
Oh, boy.
Roseau, Detroit Lakes, down to Detroit Lakes,
Yeah.
Fargo. I'm not ready for that, Jay. I'm just gonna say that straight out.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So
Yeah.
I know you love the winter. I know that's your favorite.
That is my least favorite.
I don't hate the winter. I just hate when the winter comes in October and doesn't leave until the end of April. That's
Yeah.
what I don't like. Then spring is 3 weeks, fall is 3 weeks. That's what I can't stand.
Yes.
That's the climate change that I don't like.
Yeah, I don't know. If we could go spring to fall, early fall, not late fall, and then we get some snow like December 23rd.
You gotta have snow around Christmas time.
December 23rd, and then it melts by December 27th, 28th.
Not even on my birthday.
Spring. I'm good.
Oh, Jay.
I'm good.
My birthday has to be the coldest day of the year, January 10th. It's
Either
always-
that or I've got to get rich enough to afford somebody
Oh, you want to be a snowbird?
at least to clear out my driveway. And
Do you have some neighborhood kids that can do that? Or don't you trust them?
I don't know any of them very well.
Well, Jay, you got to pay better.
Yeah, that's
Or at
probably
all.
it. Well,
All right. Boy, did we go a million different directions there. I loved it. Democratic Socialists in an area near you. Now, Jay, you are styling, profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheel and dealing, son of a gun. Take it away.
Yes. Thank you. Wow. We are in strange times. There is so much that I don't recognize of what I see going on around me. Things seem topsy-turvy. There's so much fear in the atmosphere. And we don't always know where to go, what to do. But I can assure you that is where we have to make our stand. We have to put things back in their right order. You know, you have all this arguing about Israel, not Israel, Palestinians, Ukrainians, Russians, whatever. And nobody's even talking about the re-emergence of the Armenian genocide with Azerbaijan. We seem to silently be on the wrong side of that one, too. But if we take a look, it's important to remember where we stand and why we stand there. No, we don't always have to agree with the government of Israel. After all, they're a government. That's not what it's about, is blindfolded fealty to our government or theirs. But what is important is that if we look at things, if we look at why we believe that Israel is important. I mean, yes, the Jewish people should have a place they can call home. But if we look back at their history that goes back thousands of years, Exodus chapter 19, 5-6 says that they were a people set apart for God's own possession. You know, they hold a very special place in God's heart. And so in Genesis 12, it talks about, you know, I will bless those. God says, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. And that's something that as America, we really have to think about. If we're gonna start cursing Israel, I mean, that goes against that promise of God towards Abraham. And if you're a believing person, I know there's this replacement theology that's going around where Christians have replaced Israel as the chosen people. No, it says clearly in the New Testament that those who believe have been grafted into the family as co-heirs, brothers and sisters, if you will, of the Jewish people. And Christianity started as a Jewish religion. It is not separate from. It has expanded, obviously. Apostle Paul, the Apostle Peter were given directions from God to go to the Gentile nations and begin preaching the gospel. But it is this still a love for Israel and the Israeli people, the Jewish people, that God holds them close in his heart. And it's important for us as brothers and sisters of the Jewish people to remember them and to continue to treat them the way that God would want us to. Now, I would argue, New Testament always also says, to love your enemies, bless those that curse you. So we should be kind to the Palestinian people as well. It is the leaders. It is Hamas. It's the Palestinian Authority. It's Hezbollah up in the north. We didn't even really touch on Hezbollah today. There's some activity up there on the northern part of Israel. But the scary thing is to see what's happening here in our own cities, at these universities where Jewish students don't even feel safe being there, where there are crowds, throngs of people that are protesting and demonstrating at these colleges in downtown New York, holding rallies in Dearborn, Michigan, right here in Minnesota, having protests. We really have to pick a side. We cannot stay neutral. We can't be Switzerland in this. It's just, we need to be for the good of all people, but we need to be against those that are causing all of this death and destruction. And I'm sorry, but when Hamas sent paratroopers in, when they sent people in on boats, when they sent people over the border, when there are babies that, yes, it has been proven now they were beheaded, when there were babies burnt to death, women raped, families killed, hostages taken. I'm sorry, there is nothing that constitutes that and says that that's okay. If you're going to have war, you go at somebody's military. You don't be a coward about it and go after the unarmed people and hide behind them like a human shield. You don't do that. But these things have been in motion a long time. We look at war and rumors of war, and in Matthew it talks about that being the beginning birth pangs to the end of the age. Now, whether you believe that's going to happen in the next year, or you think that's 100 years down the road or 1,000 years down the road, doesn't really matter. But we got to look at it. We got to say there's something important here. These countries are being drawn into this place. We are on the verge of World War III. And the battle that we fight is not against flesh and blood, but against things in high places that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God. The things that would teach us to be kind, to be full of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. Instead, we have things that are fomenting on the horizon that are about death and destruction and hurt and hate and envy and power. These are the things we fight against. And if we can actually take control of those things and sow the seeds of the other, we might be able to make some headway. But right now, there's so much darkness. Whether it's on the battle lines or whether it's in government, it has to change. It has to change. But we alone can do it if we're willing to. But it takes waking up each day and being serious about making a change in our lives, in our own lives, living with a revived heart that is going to live the right way, so that when we run into people out there in the world, that we can do the right thing by them, and maybe they'll be inspired to do the right thing by others in their lives, and by all of us changing and becoming better people, by being driven to become better people, to do the right thing, to do what we ought to do. We can see change happen all around us. Or we can continue down this path of death and destruction and see what happens. I don't like it, and I don't like where we're headed. And it's up to you. If you make a decision not to do the right things, not to get involved, not to be a leader, then you're just casting a vote for those that desire power, that desire death. It's now. I'm calling all patriots. It's now. So I just ask, sacrifice for the good of your country, the good of your children. We can do this. But we got to have a plan, and it starts now. Get a hold of us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. If you guys have questions for us, if you want to run for something. And let me add, if you have a chapter of Democratic Socialists of America in your area, you got to put it out there. You got to go on social media and you got to out them. You got to let your neighbors and your friends and your family know who they are. You got to let them know what they stand for. You got to put their picture and their name up on social media and let them be associated with this group, because it cannot continue to go further to the left. We're in this fight with you. Every day, we're out there working. We love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.